My father and I hadn't spoken in 5 years. Family drama. So when my brother called to say Dad was gone, and I was written out of the will, I believed it. $20 million to them. 0 to me, I moved on. But 3 years later, cleaning out my old apartment, I found letters from Dad. Recent ones, saying how proud he was, how everything would be mine. I went to his bank, found a safety deposit box I didn't know about. Inside, the real will dated 1 week before he died. My siblings had destroyed it and created a fake one. Now they're in prison for fraud, and I own everything they thought they'd stolen. But let me start from the beginning. My name is Madison Reynolds, and I'm 37 years old. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, in a family that most people would call privileged. My father, Robert Reynolds, was a real estate developer. He'd built a company from nothing and turned it into a $20 million empire. My mother, Elizabeth, was a warm, generous woman who spent her time on charity work. She volunteered at homeless shelters, organized fundraisers, and taught me that wealth meant nothing if you didn't use it to help others. I had 2 siblings. My older brother, Ethan, was 3 years older than me. Handsome, charismatic, but always focused on money. Even as a kid, he'd ask Dad about the business, about profits, about inheritance. My younger sister, Victoria, was 2 years younger. Beautiful, social, and materialistic. She loved designer clothes, expensive cars, and the status that came with our last name. I was the middle child. The different one. We grew up in a mansion in Beacon Hill. Private schools, summer homes, everything money could buy. But my parents, especially my mother, made sure we understood that we were lucky, not special. That money was a tool, not a measure of worth. When I was 16, everything changed. My mother was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. 6 months later, she was gone. The family fell apart. My father threw himself into work. Ethan became colder, more calculating. Victoria became obsessed with appearance and status. I became closer to my father. We'd meet for breakfast every Sunday at a small diner near his office. Not the fancy restaurants my siblings preferred, just a quiet place where we could talk. "You're different, Madison," he told me once when I was 20. "Ethan and Victoria, they see dollar signs when they look at me. You see a person, they love you, Dad. Maybe, but they love what I have more." I graduated from college at 22 with a business degree. Everyone assumed I'd join Reynolds Real Estate. Ethan was already there, being groomed to take over. Victoria worked in marketing, barely showing up but collecting a paycheck. But I didn't want that life. I took a job at a nonprofit organization that helped low-income families find affordable housing. The salary was a fraction of what I could have made at my father's company. My siblings thought I was insane. "Why are you wasting your education?" Victoria asked at a family dinner. "I'm not wasting it. I'm using it to help people," Ethan laughed. "You mean you're playing poor while living off Dad's money?" "I don't take money from Dad. I live on my salary." They didn't believe me. But it was true. I rented a modest apartment in Cambridge, drove an old car, and lived within my means. My father was proud. My siblings thought I was pretending to be better than them. Maybe I was. When I was 27, everything fell apart. My father had a heart attack. A serious one. He survived, but it was close. He spent 2 months in the hospital and another 3 months recovering at home. During that time, Ethan and Victoria started circling. "Dad should retire," Ethan told me at the hospital. "He's 65. It's time for us to take over. He just had a heart attack. Can we focus on his health instead of the business?" "The business is his health. If it falls apart, it'll kill him faster than his heart." Victoria agreed. "We need to protect Dad's legacy. That means taking control now." I didn't like it. But more than that, I didn't like how they talked about it. Like Dad was already dead. Like they were just waiting for him to get out of the way. One night, I overheard them talking in the hospital waiting room. "Once Dad signs over control, we can start restructuring," Ethan said. "What about Madison?" Victoria asked. "What about her?" "She doesn't care about money. She'll probably refuse her share anyway." "Good. More for us." I walked in. "More for you of what?" They went silent. Then Ethan smiled. "Madison, we were just discussing the company's future." "Discussing how to divide it up before Dad's even recovered?" "That's not fair," Victoria said. "We're thinking about Dad's best interests." No, you're thinking about yourselves. The argument escalated. I accused them of being greedy. They accused me of being self-righteous. It got ugly. My father heard about it. He called us all to his bedside. I'm not dead yet, he said quietly. And I'm sick of you fighting over my money like vultures. Dad, we're not... Ethan started. Yes, you are. Ethan, Victoria. You've been asking me about the will since you were teenagers. Madison, you've never asked once. That tells me everything I need to know. Dad, that's not fair, Victoria protested. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I've given you everything. Private schools, cars, trust funds. And still it's not enough. You want more. You've always wanted more. I stayed silent. Dad looked at me. Madison, you're the only one who never wanted anything from me except my time. And I've been so proud of you. After that conversation, things were never the same. Ethan and Victoria blamed me, said I was manipulating Dad, making them look bad. You think you're so perfect. Victoria spat at me after leaving Dad's room. But you're just smug, pretending you don't care about money while judging us. I'm not judging you. I'm just disappointed. In us, or in yourself for being part of this family. That hurt. Because part of me was disappointed in myself, for being related to people who valued money over everything. A week later, I made a decision. I told my father I needed distance. Dad, I love you, but I can't be around Ethan and Victoria right now. It's too toxic. He understood. Do what you need to do, sweetheart. I'll always be here. I stopped going to family dinners, stopped answering calls from my siblings, stopped participating in the Reynolds family drama. I thought I was protecting myself. I didn't realize I was walking into a trap. For 5 years, I kept my distance from my family. I didn't go to Thanksgivings, didn't show up for Christmas, sent birthday cards to my father, but avoided any event where I'd have to see Ethan or Victoria. From the outside, it looked like I'd abandoned the family, like I was the black sheep who'd run away. But the truth was different. My father visited me. Once a month, sometimes more. He'd drive to Cambridge, show up at my apartment, and we'd have coffee. Just the two of us, like old times. Don't tell Ethan and Victoria, he'd say. They'd make a thing of it. Why keep it secret? Because they don't need to know everything. Some things are just between us. We'd talk about life, my work, his health. He'd tell me stories about building his business, about my mother, about his regrets. I spoiled your brother and sister, he admitted once. Gave them too much too soon. They never learned the value of working for something. You're different. You learned it on your own. Is that why you're proud of me? I'm proud of you because you're kind, because you care about people, because you didn't let money define who you are. During those 5 years, my life moved forward. I met Daniel Chen, an immigration lawyer with a strong moral compass and a kind heart. We fell in love, got married in a small ceremony at City Hall. My father was there. Ethan and Victoria weren't invited. I didn't tell them about the wedding. They found out through Facebook. Victoria sent a text. So we're not family anymore? I didn't respond. Meanwhile, my career flourished. I became a director at the nonprofit, overseeing programs that helped hundreds of families find stable housing. I was making a difference. I was happy, but I missed my father. Our monthly visits weren't enough. I wished things could be different with my siblings. But every time I thought about reaching out, I remembered how they looked at Dad. Like he was a bank account instead of a person. So I stayed away. I didn't know that my father had made plans. Plans to protect me. Plans that would change everything. I was 32 years old when my phone rang at 6 a.m. I didn't recognize the number. But something made me answer. Madison? It was Ethan. I hadn't heard his voice in 5 years. Ethan? Dad's gone. His voice was flat, cold. I sat up in bed. What? He died last night. Heart attack, at home. We found him this morning. The world tilted. Dad's dead? Yeah, funeral's Friday. Thought you should know. Ethan, He hung up. I sat there, phone in my hand, unable to process it. Daniel woke up, saw my face. What happened? My dad died. The next few days were a blur. The funeral was held at a historic church in Boston. Hundreds of people showed up. Business associates, charity organizations, friends. I sat in the front row with Ethan and Victoria. We didn't speak. They didn't acknowledge me. I didn't acknowledge them. We were strangers wearing the same last name. After the funeral, the family lawyer, Martin Breslow, approached us. We need to schedule the reading of your father's will. Can you all come to my office Monday morning? Ethan and Victoria exchanged a look. Of course, Ethan said. I just nodded. Monday morning, I walked into Martin Breslow's office in downtown Boston. Ethan and Victoria were already there, sitting on a leather couch. They looked tired but composed. I sat across from them. No one spoke. Martin entered, carrying a folder. Thank you all for coming. I know this is difficult. Let's proceed. He opened the folder and pulled out a document. This is the last will and testament of Robert Reynolds, dated 2 years ago, properly executed and notarized. He began reading. I, Robert Reynolds, being of sound mind and body, hereby declare this to be my final will, revoking all previous wills. I direct that my estate be distributed as follows. I held my breath. To my children, Ethan Reynolds and Victoria Reynolds, I leave my entire estate in equal shares. This includes Reynolds Real Estate, all properties, investments, and assets, with an estimated value of $20 million. My stomach dropped. To my daughter, Madison Reynolds. Martin paused. I leave nothing. Madison chose to distance herself from this family over the past 5 years. She has not spoken to me or participated in family affairs. Her choice to leave was her own. I respect it, but I cannot reward it. Silence. Ethan smiled slightly. Victoria looked relieved. I felt numb. That's not true, I said quietly. Dad and I talked all the time. We met every month. Ethan turned to me. Madison, please. Don't make this harder. We all know you've been gone for 5 years. But the will is clear, Martin said gently. I'm sorry, Madison. I looked at the document. It was dated 2 years ago, properly notarized, signed by my father. But something felt wrong. My father and I had been close. He'd told me I was his favorite. He'd said he was proud of me. Would he really cut me out completely? Can I see the will? I asked. Martin hesitated, then slid it across the desk. I looked at the signature. It looked like my father's handwriting, but there was something off about it. Something mechanical. Madison, this is just hurting you, Victoria said. Accept it and move on. I stood up. I need air. I left the office. Daniel was waiting outside. 20 million to them. Nothing to me. Madison, I'm so sorry. Something's wrong, Daniel. Dad wouldn't do this. We were close. Can you prove it? I thought about it. All our meetings had been private. Secret. No one knew about them except us. No, I admitted. No, I can't. Over the following weeks, I tried to accept it. Ethan and Victoria took control of Reynolds Real Estate. They started selling off properties, liquidating assets, converting everything to cash. I went back to my life, back to my job, back to helping families find homes while my siblings counted their millions. I told myself I didn't care about the money. I never had, but I cared about my father. I cared that his memory was being rewritten, that people thought he'd abandoned me. That wasn't who he was, and deep down, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't have proof. Not yet. 3 years passed. I was 35 years old. Ethan and Victoria had dissolved Reynolds Real Estate, sold everything, and were living off the money. Ethan bought a penthouse in Manhattan. Victoria moved to Los Angeles, married a plastic surgeon, lived in a mansion in Beverly Hills. I didn't hear from either of them. We were essentially estranged, which was fine with me. Daniel and I were happy. We'd bought a small house in Brooklyn. I'd been promoted at work. Life was good, even without the Reynolds millions. Then one day I got a call from my old landlord in Cambridge. Madison, it's Tom, your old apartment. The tenant's moving out. I need to do a final inspection. Can you come get the last of your stuff from storage? I didn't think I had anything left there. Just a box. Been in the basement. Want me to throw it out? No, I'll come get it. That weekend, Daniel and I drove to Cambridge. Tom led us into the basement. There was one box, dusty and forgotten, with my name on it. We brought it home. I almost didn't open it. Old college textbooks, probably, or tax returns I didn't need. But something made me cut it open. Inside, I found photographs, old birthday cards, and at the bottom, a bundle of letters tied with string, letters addressed to me. In my father's handwriting, I pulled them out, hands shaking, looked at the postmarks. They were recent, some from 3 years ago, some from 2 years ago. The most recent was dated 2 weeks before my father died. Daniel, look at this. He came over, saw the letters. Those are from your dad? I opened the first one, dated 6 months before he died. My dearest Madison, I hope you know how much I love you, how proud I am of the woman you've become. Ethan and Victoria ask me constantly about the will, about what they're getting. You've never asked, not once. I want you to know, I'm leaving everything to you. I've drawn up a new will. My lawyer doesn't know yet. I'm keeping it quiet because if your brother and sister find out, they'll make trouble. But you deserve it. Not because you're my favorite, though you are, but because you're the only one who never wanted my money. You just wanted me. Everything will be yours. I love you, Dad. Tears streamed down my face. I opened another letter. Madison, the new will is ready. I've put it somewhere safe. Not with Martin Breslow. I don't trust him anymore. He's too close to Ethan. It's in my safety deposit box at First National Bank. Box 447. I've left a key for you. Check the photo album in my study. It's hidden there. When the time comes, you'll know what to do. You're my greatest achievement. Dad. I read all 23 letters. Each one said the same thing. He was proud of me. He loved me. Everything was mine. He'd hidden the real will because he knew Ethan and Victoria would try to stop him. The last letter was dated 12 days before his death. Madison, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm so sorry I couldn't say goodbye. The will in my safety deposit box is the real one. Box 447 at First National Bank. The key is in my study, hidden in our old photo album. The one with your mother on the cover. Everything is yours. The house. The business, all of it. Because you earned it by being you. Don't let them tell you I didn't love you. Don't let them rewrite our story. You are my daughter. My pride, my joy, forever, Dad. I looked at Daniel. They forged the will. They destroyed the real one. Everything they told me was a lie. Can you prove it? I held up the letters. I can now. The next morning I called a lawyer. Not Martin Breslow. Someone Daniel recommended. Rachel Kim, an estate litigation specialist. I brought her the letters. She read them carefully. These are dated recently. Do you have any proof they're authentic? I have 23 letters in my father's handwriting. I can get them authenticated. We went to a forensic document examiner. He analyzed the letters, compared them to known samples of my father's writing. These are genuine, he confirmed. Same ink, same paper stock, same handwriting characteristics. These letters were written by Robert Reynolds. And he mentions a safety deposit box, Rachel said. Box 447 at First National Bank. Do you have the key? He said it was hidden in a photo album, in his study, which is now owned by Ethan. I thought for a moment. I need to get into that house. Rachel shook her head. That could be considered trespassing. Let me file a motion with the court first. We'll request access to the safety deposit box based on these letters. It took 6 months of legal wrangling. Ethan and Victoria fought every step. Their lawyers argued the letters were fake, that I'd forged them, that I was trying to steal their inheritance. But the forensic evidence was strong. The letters were real. Finally, a judge ruled. The court orders that safety deposit box 447 at First National Bank be opened in the presence of all parties and their legal representatives. The date was set. The bank vault was cold and sterile. Ethan, Victoria, and I stood with our lawyers. A bank manager and a court-appointed witness were also present. Ethan looked nervous. Victoria's hands were shaking. I was calm. I knew what we'd find. The bank manager opened box 447. Inside was a single manila envelope. He handed it to the court witness, who opened it carefully. Inside, a document. Stapled pages, legal size. Last will and testament of Robert Reynolds. The witness read aloud. Dated, he paused. 1 week before his death. The room went silent. He continued reading. I, Robert Reynolds, being of sound mind and body, do hereby revoke all previous wills and declare this to be my final testament. I direct that my entire estate, including Reynolds real estate, all properties, investments, and assets, valued at approximately $20 million, be left to my daughter, Madison Reynolds. Ethan's face went white. Victoria grabbed the edge of the table. The witness kept reading. To my children, Ethan and Victoria, I leave nothing. They have spent their lives waiting for my death so they could inherit. Madison has spent her life building her own legacy. She deserves everything. The document was notarized, signed by my father, witnessed by Patricia Morgan, my father's former secretary. Rachel looked at Ethan and Victoria's lawyer. This will is dated 1 week before Mr. Reynolds' death. It supersedes any previous will. My client is the sole beneficiary. Ethan found his voice. This is fake. Madison made this up. We'll have it authenticated, Rachel said calmly, and we did. 2 weeks later, the forensic report came back. The signature was genuine. The document was real. This was my father's final will. But there was still the question of the other will. The one that had left everything to Ethan and Victoria. Rachel hired a private investigator. What he found changed everything. The investigator's report was damning. On the day my father died, Ethan had gone to his house. Security footage showed him entering at 11 p.m. My father died around 10 p.m. The next morning, Ethan had made a phone call to a man named Gregory Torres, a document forger with a criminal record. Bank records showed Ethan had paid Torres $10,000 2 days after my father's funeral. Torres was tracked down and questioned. He admitted everything. Ethan Reynolds hired me to create a fake will. He gave me samples of his father's signature, had me copy it, told me to make it look like the old man had cut out his sister. Rachel presented this evidence to the court, along with the testimony of Patricia Morgan. Patricia testified, Mr. Reynolds called me to his house 1 week before he died. He said he'd made a new will, leaving everything to Madison. He asked me to witness it. I did. He told me he was scared his other children would try to destroy it, so he was hiding it in his safety deposit box. The case was clear. Ethan and Victoria had known about the real will. They'd destroyed it or hidden it. Then they'd forged a new one and presented it as authentic. The court scheduled a final hearing. The courtroom was packed. This case had made the news. Siblings forge will, steal sister's inheritance. Judge Catherine Walsh presided. She was in her 60s, stern, with a reputation for not tolerating fraud. Rachel presented our case. The letters. The real will from the safety deposit box. The testimony of Patricia Morgan. The evidence of the forged will. Ethan's payment to Gregory Torres. It was overwhelming. Ethan and Victoria's lawyer tried to argue that the real will had been hidden intentionally, that my father had changed his mind, that the letters to me were just sentimental and didn't reflect his actual wishes. But the timeline didn't support it. My father had written the final will 1 week before his death. He'd written letters up until 2 weeks before. Everything pointed to one conclusion. He wanted me to inherit. And my siblings had conspired to stop it. Judge Walsh called for a recess. When she returned, her face was grave. I've reviewed all the evidence. The will found in the safety deposit box, dated 1 week before Robert Reynolds' death, is clearly authentic. It represents his final wishes. She looked at Ethan and Victoria. The will presented by Ethan and Victoria Reynolds has been proven to be a forgery. Furthermore, there is clear evidence of conspiracy to defraud, including the hiring of a known document forger and the destruction of the original will. She paused. Madison Reynolds is the sole legal heir to her father's estate. I felt Daniel squeeze my hand. Furthermore, Judge Walsh continued, Ethan Reynolds and Victoria Reynolds are hereby charged with fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. This case is being referred to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Court officers approached my siblings. Victoria started crying. Ethan stood frozen, disbelieving. As they were led away, Ethan looked at me. Madison, please. We're family. Don't do this. I looked at him calmly. You destroyed Dad's will. You lied about him. You made everyone think he didn't love me. And you did it for money. Family doesn't do that. Victoria was sobbing. We're sorry. We were stupid, greedy. Please drop the charges. You had 3 years to tell the truth. You chose to lie every single day. Now you face what you earned. The judge sentenced them 2 weeks later. Ethan got 7 years. Victoria got 5. They appealed. They lost. And just like that, it was over. I'm 37 years old now. I inherited everything. The $20 million. The properties. All of it. But more than that, I inherited the truth. My father had loved me, had trusted me, had known I'd fight for his real wishes. I didn't sell Reynolds real estate. I restructured it, changed its mission. Now we focus on affordable housing, building homes for families who can't afford market rate. It's what my mother would have wanted. What I always wanted. Dad's legacy. Done right, I tell people. Ethan and Victoria are in prison. They've sent letters, apologizing, asking for forgiveness, asking me to help with their appeals. I haven't responded. Daniel asks me sometimes, will you ever forgive them? Maybe, I say, but not now. They watched me suffer for 3 years, told me Dad didn't love me, let me believe I'd been abandoned. I don't owe them immediate forgiveness. Last week I visited my father's grave, brought flowers, sat for an hour. I found it, Dad. Your real will, your letters. I know you loved me. I always knew. Thank you for protecting me, even after you were gone. A woman approached. Older, kind face. Madison Reynolds, yes? I'm Patricia Morgan. I worked for your father. I remember. You testified for me. I wanted to tell you something. Your father talked about you all the time, showed me pictures, told me stories. You were his pride and joy. He said you were the only one of his children who inherited your mother's heart. I started crying. He loved Ethan and Victoria, Patricia continued, but he didn't trust them. He knew they'd fight over his money, so he made sure it went to the one person who'd use it the way he would have wanted. Thank you for telling me. She smiled and walked away. I stood there for a few more minutes, looking at my father's headstone. You knew them better than they knew themselves. Dad, you protected me in the only way you could. I left the cemetery feeling lighter, free, because the truth had come out. Justice had been served, and my father's legacy was safe. Sometimes people ask me if I regret what happened to Ethan and Victoria. I don't. They didn't just steal from me. They tried to steal my father's memory, to rewrite him as a man who abandoned his daughter. That was unforgivable. The money? I never cared about that. But the truth? That mattered. I used the inheritance well, building affordable housing, supporting the kind of charities my mother loved, living the life my father hoped I would. And every Sunday, I go to that small diner where Dad and I used to have breakfast. I order his favorite meal, black coffee, eggs over easy, wheat toast, and I remember not the fight, not the betrayal, not the courtroom. I remember the good times, the conversations, the quiet moments between a father and daughter who understood each other. That's what I choose to keep. As for Ethan and Victoria, they made their choices. They faced the consequences, and me? I'm finally free. Free from family drama. Free from guilt. Free from wondering if my father loved me, because I know he did. And in the end, that's all that matters.